Hey there, Eric here with Wave Online Academy, and we're going to be exploring today what is sound. What is sound? What is it? Okay guys, here is a very simple explanation of what sound is. Sound wave originates as a vibration that forms an acoustic wave that travels through the air, gas, liquid, or solid. That is what sound is. But that's a pretty simple explanation, so we're going to get deeper into it because we want you to understand certain things about a sound wave, what it is, and how to use it. So let's make some sense out of this. Imagine a guy holding an acoustic guitar. Okay, he plucks the string on the guitar and it vibrates and it disturbs the air around the guitar. Now this vibration repeats itself over and over and over until the string stops vibrating. Now that disturbed air, if you could see it, would look like when you throw a pebble into a calm water and it ripples out, okay? But you can't see a sound wave. I mean, there's certain ways to see an actual sound wave, but basically you can't see a sound wave. Now the sound waves travel through air, liquid, solid, or gas, or whatever it's doing until it reaches the human ears, okay? And we'll get into how the ear works too in later lessons. But the ear transmits that into an electrical pulse to your brain, and the brain interprets it as sound. Now here's the cool thing about this. Each vibration, so imagine that guy playing the acoustic guitar again. He hits the string and it's vibrating, but it's vibrating evenly until it fades out, okay? And that is called hertz. That's cycles per second, and it's an even thing that's going on here. Now the human ear interprets that as a note, and we call those hertz or cycles per second. It's basically a musical note. Now the human ear has the capacity to hear from 20 hertz, 20 cycles per second, to 20,000 cycles per second, those are both notes, and that's the audio frequency range. That's the natural hearing range of a human being. Now, obviously, there are frequencies above 20,000 hertz and below 20,000 hertz, and they are outside what's called the audio frequency range. Now, the notes that are above 20,000 hertz are called ultrasound, and the notes below 20 hertz are called infrasound. Different animals, species, have different hearing ranges. Some hear a broader spectrum than human beings, and some more narrow. Now, sound can travel through things like air and water and differing solids. There are also some substances that sound cannot travel through or has an extremely difficult time traveling through. Sound waves are created by a source, like a voice or a cone and a speaker. Now, when the cone moves in and out, it's pulling air and pushing air, pulling air, pushing air, pulling air, pushing air, and as the air moves out, it creates a sound wave. And that sound wave will travel through the air or a water or a solid, and three things can happen to it. It can be refracted, it can be reflected, or it can be attenuated by the objects that it would come in contact with. Refraction is when a sound wave is changed in a way that either breaks it up, or it can also become focused and more intense. Refraction happens when the sound wave hits something and it tries to pass through it, and the whole thing can't pass through it. Maybe some of it does, but some of it bounces back and gets refracted. Now, reflection is just exactly the way it sounds like when you look in a mirror and you see your reflection. So a sound wave comes, boom, and it hits, and it bounces right off that surface. And that's called a direct reflection of a sound wave, when it directly reflects it into another direction. And that's kind of like throwing a ball up against a wall. You throw it at the wall, and every time you throw it, it goes in a different direction. And that's what reflection is. Now, attenuated sound waves are waves that are passing through something, but they lose a majority of their amplitude. They lose a majority of their strength, power, and volume. Here's an example. Have you ever been in a hotel room and you could hear in the next room a couple fighting or talking or something like that, and it sounds... Okay, that's what it sounds like, right? Well, what's happening is inside the room, they're talking, their voices are creating sound waves, and they're hitting the wall, and they're passing through, a little bit of it is passing through the wall, but you can't really understand what they're saying unless the amplitude goes up, the volume, the strength, the power goes up. Then maybe you can hear what they're saying. Well, that's called attenuation. The loudness is greatly reduced. Here's the thing. Sound waves are extremely complex, and they're subject to many, many different things, including humidity, temperature, altitude, and honestly, the list goes on and on. But what really matters, and what Daniel and I really want to express to you as church audio engineers, is that those waves are affecting the people in your congregation. So you really need to know about sound is basically two things, okay? Sound is pressure variance and time, pressure and time. But what I want you to understand the most here in this lesson is that sound is varying degrees of pressure over varying degrees of time. Now, if the pressures are in conflict or too intense, it will cause discomfort or pain to someone. And when someone comes to you in the sound booth complaining that it's too loud, it's probably not too loud. You're going, what are you talking about? It's like, 60 dB in here. You're nuts. It's not loud. What actually is going on is that it's causing someone pain and discomfort. There's something going on in that room. There's a rogue frequency out there. There's something that's not quite right that's causing a problem for that person in the pressure or in the time or both, okay? As we get further into the course, we'll be exploring the science behind sound waves and the different mediums that sound may travel through. But for right now, clearly understanding that sound is caused by a vibration that generates a disturbance in the air, that as it travels through the air, it forms a sound wave, and that these sound waves are specific frequencies, and frequencies from different sources can cause refraction, reflection, and attenuation, including the original sound wave, and that these waves enter the human ear in varying degrees of pressure over varying degrees of time, and they can either cause a pleasurable experience or they can cause a horrible, horrible irritating and discomfort, and can actually cause damage to the ear if not understood. And what I want you to grasp the most right now is that concept right there. Our job as church audio engineers is to create an environment of worship that is basically transparent. You want people to forget that there are speakers in the room. You don't want them to be distracted by something that doesn't sound natural, or by something that is causing them discomfort or pain. Our whole mission here at Wave is to be able to enable church audio engineers to facilitate a distraction-free environment, so that people are focused on coming before the throne of God and interacting with the Holy Spirit, so that the Holy Spirit can do for that person what that person needs them to do the most. And that's it. It sounds very simple, but it's a very, very difficult thing to accomplish, especially without understanding what you're doing and how sound works and how the gear you're using works. We're very glad that you're with us, and we look forward to helping you achieve that exact thing. So make sure you download the PDFs attached to this video and review them, and we'll see you in the next lesson called the 7